And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today, we are talking about the most recent signing for the Washington Commanders as they go out and sign defensive tackle Eddie Goldman. So we're going to be talking about his impact on the defense. We're also going to be looking at some familiar faces that are coming back to the Washington Commanders in Jeremy McNichols and also to Marcus Mariota. So we'll be talking about the impact there. And lastly, free agency. We'll be looking at some free agent moves that have occurred here in the NFL. And we're looking at some players that maybe the Washington Commanders could go out and add to the football team. And so let's go ahead and start with Eddie Goldman and what this means for the Washington Commanders. So it looks like that he is coming in on a one-year deal. He is a defensive tackle who just played for the Atlanta Falcons. You see that he entered the league in 2015, and he was with the Bears all the way up until 2021. And the reason that there's a couple years that are missing is because he went ahead and he retired in 2022, and he was out of football for a couple seasons, but he came back to the Atlanta Falcons, and I think that he definitely had a strong year because he had 16 total tackles. He also had a sack as well. And then he had 2 run stuffs. And on top of that, look, he was very good as far as pressuring the quarterback. I believe he had 3 of those as well. And so I like this signing for a lot of reasons. And so first, I think that this is a real upside deal. And I think that I really feel like that Eddie Goldman can get to the upside on this deal. I think that when you look at the tape, you look at his ability to play the zero technique, which is really line up over the center, and then also to stop offenses from really pushing the line of scrimmage up front and kind of generating space there. I love that about him. I also like the fact that he can be a player that knows how to really fill in gaps as well. So I think he's going to be able to help us there. And I really don't think that there's a technique that he cannot play. So I think that you're going to see some versatility up front with him. And I think that this is something that the Washington Commanders absolutely need because, look, we got gashed in the run game. And so we need to be able to create some more negative plays. We need to be able to create, I think, more of a defensive line of scrimmage. And that just means, creating a negative line of scrimmage versus letting their offensive line kind of dictate where we go. And so I think that he is certainly a player that does help us there. And I think that, look, he's going to make even more of an impact this next season with the Washington Commanders because I just think that after taking off a couple seasons, of playing in the National Football League, I think maybe a year, it takes you to get back into the rhythm of things. And so I think that this next year, I think it's going to be a great year. And then you look at what is behind him defensively with Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu. Like, I think that he can really fit in with this team and be an impact player out there. And so I do like this signing, and it is just for 1 year. So I think that, look, it is really a low risk for the Washington Commanders, which is another reason why I like Eddie Goldman here for the Washington Commanders. And so next up, we're going to be talking now about, familiar faces that are coming back to the Washington Commanders. And we are looking at Jeremy McNichols first here. And so look, Jeremy McNichols, I think that this was a solid signing for the Washington Commanders because, he had one of his better years. In fact, I think he had probably his best year with us because he had 55 carries, 261 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he had a 4.7 average. And so, look, that was the best average, I think, in his NFL career since he's been in the NFL. This is going to be the second time that he's been with a team twice. He was with the Tennessee Titans in 2020 and 2021. So that's good to see that he's coming back to us. And then when you look more inside the numbers, what I liked about him is he is a guy that knows how to get to the first down marker. In fact, he was 4th on the team as far as getting to the first down marker. He was only behind Jaden Daniels, who had 55. You had Brian Robinson Jr. with 47, Austin Eckler at 19, and then you had Jeremy McNichols at 15, followed by Chris Rodriguez Jr. at 10. And so that is always a good sign when you have a running back that knows how to move the chains. And we talked about this before several times that this team really thrives on just really running down the clock. I mean, it is just ball control offense. It's dominating the time of possession. Jeremy McNichols certainly helps you with that when you see that he's getting the first downs. And then on top of that, look, he had a knack for getting to the end zone as well. He was tied for third on the team as far as touchdowns scored via the run. You had Brian Robinson Jr. with 8. You had Jaden Daniels with 6. And then he's in a three-way tie at fourth. And so it's him and Austin Eckler. They're actually a two-way tie. And so anyway, he was right there as far as scoring touchdowns. And so that is another added bonus that you get with Jeremy McNichols. I think he does a terrific job as far as running behind his pad levels. And I know he had a tough playoff game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, we had a tough game as a team, but still, I think that there is a lot to like about Jeremy McNichols coming back. I just want to see how it is going to work out with Chris Rodriguez Jr. and Jeremy McNichols, and if this team decides to now pivot and get a running back via the draft or a free agency. I'm not going to rule that out as well. And so next, another player that they are bringing back here is going to be Marcus Mariota. And so, look, I think that that was a solid signing. You talk about real value. I think that whenever he had to step up, he definitely stepped up for us. I still remember that Dallas Cowboy game where Jaden Daniels goes out of the game. And look, he was spectacular in that one. So I think that this is a great signing for the Washington Commanders. You get a guy that is familiar. And look, we trust that if he has to step in for Jaden Daniels, he can certainly get the job done for us. And so next, I wanted to go ahead and jump into free agency and just look at, some of the news around free agency. And so let's start with the fact that first, we're seeing that, look, Cooper Kupp has been cut by the Los Angeles Rams. And so it looks like that, they could not find a trade partner. And so he's been cut. And I think that this is going to be interesting because I do see that maybe the Washington Commanders could maybe take a look at him. I would think that if you do take a look at him, here's a guy that, look, he's put up some numbers before. I think that, look, when you're looking at just, the sheer fact that I think he can still get open. I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to be elite or anything like that, but I do think that he can still help your football team as far as, just getting open over the middle of the field and things like that. I'm not going to say he's going to lift the top off of defenses, but I do think that if you add him with Deebo Samuel, you add him with Terry McLaurin, I still think that, look, there's enough in the tank for him to help this football team. Now, do I think that you go out and you pay him a lot of money? No, I'm not saying that. I mean, but still, 67 receptions, 710 yards, 10.6 was the average, and he still got 6 touchdowns. And that was on, a bad year as far as, with the injuries and things like that. Now, do I expect for him to be back to 1,000-yard receiver? Maybe not. Maybe those days have passed. But I do think that he could maybe be a solid receiver that gets you maybe 800-900, yards. We definitely know he can get 700 yards. But the key is, can he still win over the middle of the field? Can he still get enough separation? He's going to be able to probably be able to work zones and things like that with the way that Jaden Daniels is able to create out of the pocket. So I think he's a player that maybe the Washington Commanders would certainly want to consider. And so next up, another player that I think maybe the Washington Commanders could pivot to is going to be Keenan Allen. I think that when you look at Keenan Allen and you look at what he's been able to do, look, I know it was, a bit of a down year, from his year with the Chargers in 2023, where he had 108 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, but still, he still matched that in 2024 with 7 touchdowns. He had a 10.6 average. That was down just a yard from the year before in 2023. And he also had 744 yards and he had 70 receptions. And I think that, look, when you look at Cooper Kupp and you look at also Keenan Allen, I think that both of these players are going to get more of an opportunity than they maybe did with their prior clubs. And I think that Keenan Allen is a guy that really, he can still win. I think that he is just the pro's pro, and he just understands leverage. He understands where to be. He's quarterback friendly. Like, I think that Jaden Daniels would love him. I know he's a bit older, but still, I do think that, look, you can get either one of these guys on a 1-2 year deal, and I don't think that it has to break the bank. And I think that it makes a lot of sense. Look, he's 32 years old. I think that this is just fine if you go out and get Keenan Allen. I would not be mad if the Washington Commanders added another veteran wide receiver who I think could help them out. And so next, I wanted to look at maybe a player that maybe the Washington Commanders would take a chance on, so to speak, even though, on the outside looking in, it doesn't seem like very much of a chance, taking on this player. But, I like him a lot. And I think that, look, Asante Samuel Jr., like, I think that he is a player that I would like the Washington Commanders to bring in. I think that when you look at Asante Samuel Sr., or excuse me, it's not Senior, Jr., and what he was able to do, look, I go back to 2023 in the playoffs with the Chargers against the Jaguars. He had 3 interceptions in that game. And so, look, there is some definite upside there. And when you look at when he came in the league in 2021, 2022, 2023, look, he had 2 interceptions in all those years. And I mean, he is just 25 going on 26 years old. And so, look, this is a guy that I like him a lot. If you're going to take a chance, I just talked about upside. I think that there is still some upside there, with his just ability and the feel for playing the corner position. I wouldn't mind if the Washington Commanders maybe at least took a look at him to bring him in and possibly, maybe help the secondary some more. And so, with that being said, let me know in the comments what you're thinking here. Do you think the Washington Commanders are going to maybe take a chance with either of these free agents that I've talked about, whether it is, Asante Samuel Jr.? Do you think that they would go with Cooper Kupp? Do you feel like maybe Keenan Allen? And then lastly, do you like the re-signing here of Jeremy McNichols? And then also Marcus Mariota? Are you okay with that? And then what do you think about this most recent signing here with Eddie Goldman? Do you think that he is certainly going to help the Washington Commanders this season on defense? And so, as we always say, go Commanders, and I will see you on the next one. All right, peace.